Good evening. Welcome to Have I Got News For You? I'm Miles Jupp. In the news this week, after rubbishing the Rebecca Vardy-Camp's claim that a mobile phone containing vital evidence was accidentally dropped into the sea, one lawyer in the Wagatha Christie case enjoys a relaxing day off. In Windsor, eager to resume duties after suffering mobility issues, the Queen gets lost on a walkabout. And at a bar in Ibiza, there's suspicion that a man on a bell-ringing holiday may have boarded the wrong coach for his excursion to the local church. On Ian's team tonight is a man who loves intricate pieces of machinery, which he studies for hours to see exactly how they work. So, to save him some time, this... It's literally a bloke pulling a lever. Please welcome James May. With Paul tonight, a Labour MP who voted for Moldova in the Eurovision Song Contest. She also voted for Keir Starmer as leader. I mean, principles are fine, but would it hurt you to back a winner once in a while? Please welcome Jess Phillips.
I actually voted for Lisa Nandy.
We begin with the bigger news stories of the week. Ian and James, have a look at this.
Oh, that's Sunak having a go at buying food, which apparently some people are finding quite difficult at the moment.
That's the Weimar Republic being declared next week in Britain.
Yep. That's a piggy bank that I think the Governor of the Bank of England said was empty, but it was obviously full of old money there.
Steak going up, 99 cents. That's in case he forgets who he is.
It's a bit worrying for the economy that the Chancellor of Exchequer is seeking part-time work.
Didn't he used to work in Nando's, Rishi Sunak, at the beginning of the crisis?
He owns Nando's.
I think that's an old clip from Eat Out to Help Out.
Yes.
During the pandemic, but now obviously they've completely changed their tune because you've got to stay in and get another job and not eat anything in order to pay for your electricity.
Yeah, this is the news that quite a lot of things are quite bad. But let's kick off with the good news for Boris Johnson. What is that, then?
He hasn't been fined again. I think that is the limit of the good news.
The police have said their investigation into Partygate is over. He faces no further fines, sadly, or happily, depending on your point of view.
And what's yours, then?
Sadly. But at the same time, happily. You're watching the BBC.
I think for the sake of balance, we should say that the Labour Party have got no fines and the Tory Party have got 126. That's just balance so far.
I mean, it just makes us feel less fun.
But also, I mean, I think we should sympathise with the police because, you know, they really haven't got time to investigate these fines. They're very busy, basically arresting Tory MPs for assault. And they've got a lot on their hands, and I don't think they can do everything at once.
The statistics that you say they are correct only at the time of recording, I suppose. I mean, how is Kerrygate, Beerygate going, do you think, Jess?
Well, I don't think he's going to get a fine, so I think he's probably going to ride it out. But it will be a monumental situation if the Conservatives and Downing Street end up with 126 fines and false invective from the Mail causes the leader of the Labour Party to resign. It will be in a ridiculous position, but I don't think he's going to get fined.
Well, again, in the interest of balance, Keir Starmer said, look, if he was found guilty, he'd do the decent thing. So he's obviously not fit to be Prime Minister.
Yeah,
I mean, thank goodness I'm here, or this programme would be pretty bloody left-wing.
Well, I mean, he's been very honest, hasn't he, Keir?
Who? The Prime Minister, for God's sake?
No, sometimes the information's at the end of the sentence.
Oh.
As I say at a lot of family meals, please wait till Daddy's finished speaking. Keir Starmer has been honest, actually, about the beer thing. And who was it that finally made him come out with the truth?
Was it loose women?
It
Not
really
just
was.
any loose women.
You're absolutely right. He finally cracked on loose women under forensic questioning from Ruth Langsford and Linda Robson. Look at that, absolutely terrified. And Keir admitted there were 15 people at his alcohol-fuelled binge, or drinks party, probably said on the invite, having previously said there were only 6 people. And what is the other bad news for Keir Starmer, possibly?
He's the leader of the Labour Party?
Well, Durham Police is concerns, having said they don't retrospectively fine people for lockdown infringements. Durham Police have just retrospectively fined a woman £10,000 for organising a release of balloons in her father-in-law's memory.
But if Durham Police are going to do retrospective fines, I mean, wasn't there someone called Dominic Cummings?
To be fair, he was technically blind. He didn't know where he was going.
Back to things that are bad for everybody. What's one of the main bad things, then?
Inflation?
Very good, yes.
Inflation's 9%. Actually, if you're watching the repeat, it's 10.
It is. It's rampant, inflation. But who is definitely not to blame?
I thought it was energy.
A lack of energy? The cost of energy?
No, the cost of energy.
I thought it meant just sort of general malaise in the population.
Can you explain this energy cap thing, which has been massively increased?
Yeah.
Yes. And at the same time, there are massive profits being posted by the energy companies, which some people are saying, your party in particular, I think that should be subject to a windfall tax. That seems incredibly convoluted. Why not just make the gas a bit cheaper? Is there a reason why you can't do that?
Well, I think
somebody thought that was a good idea.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, but to be fair, you're working them with your foot.
The man who said he was definitely not to blame is the Governor of the Bank of England, Andrew Bailey. He said that he was helpless in the face of global shocks, which is reassuring to us all. How did he try and calm things down after being helpless?
He said the situation is apocalyptic. And then we all felt reassured.
I mean, would this be a good moment for you to say something reassuring to the nation?
I'm trying really hard. Oh, the Eurovision was fun.
Yeah. What a hoot.
What was the government safeguarding minister Rachel McLean's advice to people who might be struggling?
Don't be poor, was her advice. Stop being poor and...
Choose your parents very carefully.
We can have a look at her advice.
Over the long term, we need to have a plan to grow the economy and make sure that people are able to protect themselves better, whether that is by taking on more hours or moving to a better paid job.
Well, it's not crazy advice. I mean, that's why I asked if I could host rather than be a panellist.
I believe it's performance-related.
Inflation, then. Inflation is at 9%, the highest it has been since 1982.
Old as me.
Year of your birth?
Yes. It's 40 years old, like me.
Well, did everyone else have a good 1982? Your 1982, Paul?
I was living in a bedsit, measured 13 feet by 11.
You were huge in those days.
I was, wasn't I? It's amazing I could get through the front door.
What are you, James, 1982?
1982, I was also living in a bedsit.
Yeah, I thought I recognised you. You're the bloke who kept stealing my milk.
Ian never lived in a bedsit.
He's owned a few.
Well, if you mean a bed with a sitting room...
I think we should have a quick game of Have I Got 1982 for You?
Yeah.
Well, this will bring the youth in. Here on the 1982-ometer are several terrible/notable things from 1982. Here's the first one.
The CD. So this compact disc was born, and that's it there.
That is right, the compact disc was...
This quiz has become really basic, hasn't it?
Yeah.
The CD player was also introduced in 1982.
Just as well.
Just lucky. Here is the next one.
That was the first failed attempt at the CD disc.
It's ciabatta.
Oh, is it?
It
That wasn't
is.
invented in 1982.
Hey.
Was it?
This isn't a place to be angry, James.
Sorry. I don't believe that was invented in 1982.
The archetype Italian bread, it was invented in 1982 to satisfy the growing Italian hunger for, well, basically for baguettes. Let's have a look at the next one.
Yeah, next one.
Oh, cars. They were invented in 1982.
Do you want to build on your captain's answer, perhaps, James?
That is, I was about to say an Austin princess, but is it actually the... No, it is a... I should know this, I accept.
It's not ciabatta now.
But it's the Austin... No. But the thing is, that car was launched in 1975, so that must be...
A 7-year-old model?
Yes.
It's the Austin Ambassador.
Oh, it's the Ambassador.
It's an extra question for you, James. 1982, British Leyland pulled the plug on an unusually named forklift truck company in the West Midlands. What was it called?
I don't know.
Is there a West Midlands translation that I could help with?
It's a very West Midlands name. Well, I mean, it must happen in the West Midlands. It's the Coventry Climax.
It doesn't happen.
You can start off having sex in Coventry, but you have to move to Birmingham to...
Down the A45.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
Well, that was fun, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Whatever the opposite of fun is, that was it.
Back to the present, if I may.
By all means.
What's Liz Truss? What's she done wrong now?
The Northern Ireland Protocol, I presume, is what Liz Truss has done this week.
She said, we will rip it up, and then number 10 said, well, we might not. So we don't know what they're going to do.
They can't actually rip it up, though, can they? Because doesn't Article 16 allow for some modifications, which is the ones that they feel like making that stop them looking like fucking idiots for having agreed to it in the first place or something like that?
Is that in the wording?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I shouldn't have said fucking idiots. I'd forgotten that I was on the BBC. It's different on Amazon.
Yeah, but we got an audience here.
Yeah. Very good. The boss of Marks and Spencer's had something to say about this. He pointed out that quite a lot of the paperwork is in Latin, apparently, and he thinks that's absurd. And I've got to say, I'm a bit with him.
Yeah.
No, the difference with Marks and Spencer's is when they say something's oven ready, it is.
Whose fault is it all, really, then? Let's let the Prime Minister tell us.
Prime Minister, do you accept that the reality of what you're dealing with here in Northern Ireland today is a direct consequence of the deal you signed?
Yes, absolutely.
It's his fault.
Now then, the rise in inflation that we were talking about earlier, that has been linked to the war in Ukraine. Did you see what George Bush has had to say about the conflict this week?
It's absolutely spectacularly bad.
Let's have a look. Here's George Bush.
In contrast, Russian elections are rigged. Political opponents are imprisoned or otherwise eliminated from participating in the electoral process. The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Iraq.
Do you think he was coached to say, look, don't say Iraq? Because somebody could say, but don't say it.
Yeah.
Don't say Iraq.
Yeah, I won't say that.
I won't say Iraq. Iraq.
He will have come home that night when he was going, oh, I did the silliest thing at work. This is the latest eye-watering inflation figures. This week, when asked about rising inflation, the Governor of the Bank of England said, there's not a lot we can do. Fair enough, he is pretty busy at the moment, deciding whose face goes on the new £5,000 note.
It's Prince Andrew.
Boris Johnson is threatening to tear up the Northern Ireland Protocol. You know he's out on a limb when even the Daily Telegraph has given up trying to make him look good. Although, to be fair, he was just in the middle of having his prostate examined. Paul and Jess, take a look at this.
That's the Queen.
Looking cheery.
Looking cheery, yeah, very good Queen. And she's opening the Elizabeth line. Prince Charles and Camilla walking down some steps.
In Canada.
Yeah, book depository.
Gutted.
So let's say the Queen's Jubilee celebrations have kicked off.
It is. It's about the Queen is out and about again. Charles and Camilla are in Canada. The first televised event of the Platinum Jubilee celebrations has been broadcast, co-hosted, inevitably perhaps, by Alan Titchmarsh and Tom Cruise. One of the highlights was how the Queen reacted when Alan Titchmarsh started speaking. Let's have a look at this lovely moment.
For 70 years, there's been one constant heartbeat of this nation, and that heart belongs to Her Majesty the Queen.
I love her. I love that she's going to, like, look at horses because she likes them and she didn't bother to turn up to Parliament. Like, I love that she's just like, I'm only going to the shit I want to do nowadays.
Is a heartbeat constant or is it intermittent? If it was constant, it would be... That would frighten the horses and the corgis, wouldn't it? Here she comes. Hope she's got some hay with her and a bonio. There must have been somebody else, surely, Alan Titchmarsh. Is that the best we can come up with?
It wasn't only Alan Titchmarsh.
It was Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, very much the Ant and Dec of their type. What absolutely appalling blunder, this is unforgivable, did ITV make during the broadcast?
Oh, the commercials. They got a commercial in for an abdication company. Stage your own palace revolt.
Let's have a look. Look at that. Martin Clunes, captioned as Damien Lewis, OBE. I mean, they're not that dissimilar, are they? I suppose it's an understandable mistake. You know, who can forget that classic episode of Men Behaving Badly where Gary gets hanged by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard?
Why was Tom Cruise there? What has he got to do with the royal family?
Apparently he lives somewhere near there sometimes.
Huh? There's a rumour that he's moving to Birmingham. He came to Birmingham and his car got nicked. And I've got to say, the people of Birmingham felt pretty proud.
It was quite interesting that you had a clip there of the new Queen Elizabeth line, the first bit of which is just being opened. And Transport for London presumably gave the Queen an Oyster card so she could ride on it, which I thought was rather poor form, actually, because if I was the Queen and I approached the ticket barrier and they said, could I see your Oyster card? I'd say, listen, subject. Yeah. Does one realise what this line is called? Of course I can get on the bloody train. It's mine, you idiot.
You think she's taking a ride to keep warm?
Yeah, that's it.
I think we should remind ourselves of a photo that went viral a while ago. It's three members of the Llanelli Railway Goods Shed Trust. They're restoring an old Victorian goods shed, and they bear an uncanny likeness to another trio. You have to look at it for quite a lot. It's a slight sort of magic eye picture quality.
Thank you.
It's the most amusing picture in the world.
Back to the royals. Charles and Camilla, they've been on a 3-day tour of Canada.
Yeah.
What was Prince Charles presented with by a group of knitters?
A woolen crown.
It is related
put over the top of the crown, like a crown cosy.
Yeah, crown cosy.
In a way, you're quite warm. He was presented with a life-size replica of his own head.
Good grief.
Made out of felt. Let's have a look.
The Queen doesn't look well, does she? In that Jesus.
Now, to continue the fun, and it is fun, shall we play a game?
Yes.
Of what are they doing and why? You may already be shouting this at your television. Here's the first one. What are they doing and why?
Is it a book of royal horoscopes that says the Queen's going to be on the throne till 2032?
The answer is they are, in fact, looking at a cookbook together that they were presented with in Canada, prompting Charles to ask, is it 100 ways to cook a moose?
I am quite a fan of Camilla. I was presented with an award before I was a Member of Parliament for my excellent community work, and Camilla was presenting it to me. And my son was picking up things in Clarence's house because he came with me. And, like, and underneath everything, it says, like, from the President of Azerbaijan or something. And my son was like, they don't buy anything, Mum. Like... And she said, oh, you're right, we get loads of stuff and sometimes we don't like it. So in the garden, if you go and have a look in the bushes, you can see some of the stuff we don't like.
This is the last one. Here's the Duchess of Cambridge. What's she doing? Why?
Is she reliving her birth?
The fact is, I don't know what she's doing or why. Let's turn our thoughts now to Australia's Prime Minister, Scott Morrison. Here he is playing a children's football game in Tasmania. I mean, there's no decent reason for that. It was nowhere near the ball, nowhere near the action. Just,
no.
It's just mindless aggression. Not what we expect from that nation. This is the grand opening of Her Majesty the Queen's historic Platinum Jubilee celebrations. Over the last few months, the Queen has cut down her workload due to episodic mobility problems. Well, madam, I think we'll let the Department for Work and Pensions decide on that, shall we? One American tourist, Kathy Page from Massachusetts, said, I didn't expect to see her. That was a wish, a dream, but never a possibility. I came along for the ride and got the ride of my life. We were 10 feet from Her Majesty. She was exactly as I expected, with perfectly coiffed hair. She was perfect. It was a moment I'll never forget. I even made eye contact. The Queen, on the other hand, described the meeting as genuinely chilling. And so to round two, the one-armed bandit of news, fingers on buzzers teams. Here is the first one.
Oh, well done, that was quick.
It is Margaret Thatcher. They've opened a statue of her, which they've been talking about for ages, and somebody threw loads of eggs at it, and then a man stood next to it and sold the eggs, which Margaret Thatcher would have appreciated.
This is perilously close to being correct, to the extent of being so.
Where is the statue? Is it Grantham?
Absolutely, yes, the town of Grantham. A new statue of Margaret Thatcher. It was originally intended for Parliament Square, but Westminster Council rejected planning amid fears that it would attract civil disobedience and vandalism. At which point Grantham decided it wanted a slice of the action. Here it is being installed. So 2 hours later, as you said, it was pelted with eggs by this man. Jeremy Webster. He's a University Arts Centre director from Leicester. He's got a considerable amount of flack for this. Who is he in trouble with?
His mother-in-law.
That's absolutely right.
She thought he was rather silly and juvenile.
She told the Daily Mail, I'm very surprised to hear about all of this. I'm going to have to call my daughter. It seems very childish to me. She's been given a lovely spot, though. As the Mail reports, the bronze Thatcher overlooks a mobility scooter shop and a slot machine arcade, while a J.D. Wetherspoon's pub stands close by. Anyone else thinking road trip? Lads on tour. Meanwhile, why has a bench in Aberystwyth caused a commotion?
Has it been painted a rather unusual colour?
No. The county council there have had to remove a memorial plaque that recently made the news. The plaque on the bench said, in loving memory of Hugh Davis used to sit here and shout fuck off at the seagulls.
Why would they remove that? I mean...
Perhaps the seagulls complained.
This is the statue of Margaret Thatcher. There's also a statue of Keir Starmer in Westminster. Oh, no, sorry, that is Keir Starmer. Fingers on buzzers, teams. Here is the next one.
I've not been following this story at all.
Maybe.
So Wayne Rooney and Colleen Rooney and smiling barristers behind, but I don't know any more than that because I've not been watching it because I couldn't be interested if I tried.
It was a big win for the lawyers.
Who's won?
Nobody.
Oh, the lawyers. It hasn't been decided yet.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it doesn't really matter, does it?
Last day today.
It's one of the pleasures of some libel trials that don't involve oneself is who cares?
Yes, it's the news. The Wagatha Christie case has drawn to a close. But do you know at all anything about it? What Jamie and Wayne are bickering over in this instance?
It was about football.
Yeah, well...
Which is why I was so interested. Technically, Wayne, as England captain, had to have a talk with Jamie Vardy to say, get your wag in order, mate.
Well, this incident, specifically, Jamie and Wayne, they're bickering a little bit over whether or not Rooney had told Jamie to have a word with Rebecca over her conduct at the 2016 Euros. Apparently she kept drifting out of position, moving seats during matches to appear more prominently in photographs, leading manager Roy Hodgson to tell deputy manager Gary Neville, to tell Wayne, to tell Jamie, to tell Rebecca to calm down.
Shouldn't be Michael Gove be involved in there somewhere?
We did, however, discover the name of Wayne's private Instagram account. Do you know what that is?
I love grannies.
Here's the exchange in court. The lawyer, I believe you have a private Instagram too. Rooney, yes, that's correct. Lawyer, is that Wazaroon08? Rooney, yes. The most depressing thing about that is that there were already 7 other Wazaroons. This is the thrilling end-of-season clash between Colleen Rooney and Rebecca Vardy. Wayne Rooney claimed he'd been completely unaware of what his wife was doing. Me sitting in this courtroom is the first time I'm hearing almost everything on this case. As anyone in a long-term relationship knows, there is a difference between hearing and listening. Two things my wife often says to me are, you never listen, and something else. Also this week, Blackpool's Jake Daniels revealed he was gay, after which many ex-professionals rushed to support him. Rio Ferdinand said, massive respect. Gary Neville said, he's so brave, while Roy Keane added, I don't care, I bet he's still rubbish. Fingers on buzzers, teams.
There was a car that got caught in some steps. The driver was trying to follow his sat-nav, and the sat-nav said turn left here, and he found himself going down some steps.
Is that the Spanish Steps?
That is the Spanish Steps. Absolutely right, Paul. He was following his sat-nav and
yes.
Managed to career down 135 marble steps in the early hours of Wednesday morning. Here it is.
Oh.
Very grainy footage, but that's what's going on.
He went down 135 of them before he thought something was wrong.
I mean, James, what's the oddest place that you've ever driven a car?
It was down the Spanish Steps in Rome. A couple of weeks ago.
What other luxury item has caused a stir on the street recently?
Was it scooters?
No, this was an item of clothing. It has to be called a luxury item. You couldn't call this a necessity. Designer brand Jean-Paul Gaultier have released a naked dress at a cost of £515.
Sorry, it's not a dress then, is it? It was a naked dress, did you say?
Well, all will be revealed. Well, hopefully the Sunday Times, Laura Pullman, she took it for a spin. They asked me again, but I was busy.
Yep.
Here she is on London's Oxford Street. There it is. I mean, do you think you're going to buy that now, Ian, or will you wait till Primark do a cheaper one? Here it is from the rear. No,
Looks very similar.
No, that's my beautiful item. This is the car that found itself stuck on the Spanish Steps. The Spanish Steps? I think I saw them in Cabaret in Benidorm. I wasn't convinced by the Spanish H, or as he called himself, he. Which means at the end of this round, Ian and James have 3, whereas Jess and Paul have 7.
Oh.
come we haven't got anything?
Answer some of the questions correctly.
From a politician.
I've never been sued for libel.
Yeah. Yeah. Never said anything interesting.
Paul and James, shall I get us some popcorn? Time now for the odd one out round. Just one between you this week. Your four are Wiltshire council workers, John Merton MP, Jeremy Clarkson and Jacob Rees-Mogg. Yes.
Is it Wiltshire council workers because they're the only ones that aren't complete Burks?
I like your working. It's not. You've not arrived at the right answer, sadly.
Is that a giant traffic cone or a very small man?
Clue, it's about, if you think about Clarkson's farm, think about how it's doing.
It's not doing very well.
That's right.
It's doing very badly. And so Jacob Rees-Mogg is the only one that's been making money in recent times. John Merton hasn't made any money since 1802 because he's dead. The man from the council can't get any work because he's too tiny. He goes into the depot and he's got this very squeaky voice and they can't hear it. So Jacob Rees-Mogg is the only one who's making any money because he's invested in Russia.
True, but not the answer we're looking for. I will give you the answer. Yeah. It is that they have all been accused of being inefficient, apart from Jacob Rees-Mogg, because he is the government's head of efficiency. Do you know what his efficiency plans involve?
It involves sacking lots of civil servants.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's looking to cut 91,000 jobs in the civil service. Which jobs has it been suggested that he begin with?
His own?
His, yes.
Well, it's very close to him. The head of efficiency, he did a round of TV interviews about his plans to slash jobs this week, accompanied by 4 advisors. Now, Jeremy Clarkson's farm, anyone know what it's called?
It's called Diddley Squat.
And how much declared profit did it make in the last year?
None.
Pretty close, £144. What are some of his financial bad decisions?
Buying a farm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he bought a £40,000 Lamborghini tractor, which was too big. Tried to raise sheep, which cost more to maintain than they brought back into the farm, and tried to grow wasabi, which was eaten by his pheasants, which led to them sweating and squawking a lot.
A Lamborghini tractor?
It really is a Lamborghini, the sort of thing that you could use to drive down the Spanish Steps, I would have thought. Caleb Cooper, his farm manager, called him a fucking idiot. And is he?
Who? Clarkson?
Yeah.
Yes, of course he is.
Now, how has Wiltshire Council been inefficient?
They're employing men who are far too small.
They were widely mocked for painting this wonky line in a village footpath.
Oh. That's not good.
Does this one go to the pub?
Yeah. Wiltshire Council, they sprang into action and rectified the problem by removing the white line.
Oh.
But you've got to give the job to the same bloke and make sure he's had enough pints exactly the same. Otherwise, it wouldn't come out like that.
Now, the other person in the round, John Merton.
John Merton, yeah.
John Mad Jack Merton, to give him his full name. He was the MP for Shrewsbury in 1819. Why was he considered inefficient as a Member of Parliament?
He never turned up. He never made any speeches. He never went there.
Still true for a lot of people.
That's absolutely the case.
Well, he couldn't be bothered to campaign for election, so he just bribed constituents with £10 notes, equivalent to around £1,000 today. But then he found his time in the House of Commons boring and left after 30 minutes. They have all been accused of being inefficient, apart from Jacob Rees-Mogg, who is head of efficiency. Jacob Rees-Mogg, of course, doesn't work from home himself. He hasn't got Wi-Fi, and he'd be constantly distracted by the sound of boys coughing from up the chimney. It turns out that during his first year of running a farm for a TV series, Jeremy Clarkson spent £40,000 on farm equipment manufactured by Lamborghini. Still, not the only person in the public eye recently to be embarrassed by splashing out on a tractor.
That got applause.
Let's hope it was applause.
Time now for the Missing Words round,
yes.
which this week features as its guest publication Keynote, the magazine of the International Morse Code Preservation Society. You can also check out their website, .com. We start with, do Morse code amateurs in the UK have what or what?
Is it wives or girlfriends?
Yeah.
Very unfair.
The answer, do Morse code amateurs in the UK have big hands, or are the Morse key knobs too small? This is from Keynote, in which the author of the article discusses the differences between UK Morse code operators and those from mainland Europe. In the UK, big hands can be a problem for Morse code enthusiasts, whereas in Germany, big hands is a champion wrestler. Next, calling a man what is harassment, says tribunal.
Oh, I saw this. This is bald.
Calling a man bald is harassment?
Yeah.
Sexual harassment.
Is it?
Yep.
Can you allude to it? Could you, I mean, if you don't say bald, can you say, are you bald or is your neck blowing bubble gum? Can you say that?
I think that would definitely end you in a tribunal after...
Yeah, but it'd be fun giving evidence, though, wouldn't it?
The answer is, calling a man bald is harassment, says tribunal. This is the news that a tribunal has ruled that calling a man bald constitutes harassment. The man in question had worked for the company for 24 years and had an unblemished record. In fact, the only thing more unblemished was his shiny head. Next, to mark the 150th anniversary of the passing of the inventor of Morse code, David will be organising what?
A massive rave with Morse code-inspired techno-disco music.
I think it's his sock drawer.
David will be organising cups of tea with a dash of milk.
To mark the 150th anniversary of the passing of the inventor of Morse code, David will be organising a special discrete activity. The same article talks about a get-together for enthusiasts in 2021, saying everyone was just out to have some fun after being locked down for so long. If only they'd had some way of keeping in touch. Next, Welsh fish and chip shop celebrates Jubilee by what?
Creating a queen that looks like a pork pie.
I saw this. I mean, they dyed everything horrible colours, like made the chips red, white and blue or something like that.
Creating Union Jack fish supper.
It's absolutely the right answer. Welsh Fish and Chip Shop celebrates Jubilee by offering Union Jack-themed meal. This is what they're offering.
Where I come from, we have orange chips. That's like an actual thing in the Midlands.
Orange chips, really?
They're like battered chips, but they put orange dye in it, and you have orange chips.
Oh, sweet potato fries. Next, David has... Poor David. I mean, he writes a lot of that magazine. David has never forgotten the criticism he was given that his what? Well, what?
Is this definitely not from a national newspaper?
I think it's a nationally available publication.
That his dots and dashes were resembling the tracks led by a one-legged penguin walking in the snow.
David has never forgotten the criticism he was given that his dots were too short. This is part of Morse code enthusiast David's harrowing piece in... Doesn't say harrowing.
It's good, though.
This is part of Morse code enthusiast David's harrowing piece, in which he reminisces about his Morse code exam. The article goes on to say there may be people around who could tell some more interesting stories of those times. If there are, for the love of God, please send them in. Next, Girl Guides criticised after handing out badges for what?
Is it like actually like traditional stuff?
It is a traditional activity, but not associated with the guides, I would have thought.
Carpet beating. Bear baiting. Witch ducking. Witch burning.
These are all close, perhaps in another universe. Girl guides criticised after handing out badges for walking to a nearby chip shop. Girl guiding St Albans have faced criticism after a father revealed his daughter was issued with this badge for walking to the chip shop and ordering some chips. I think things have changed, certainly since I was a girl guide. Finally, Dylan the dog, what in Downing Street Garden?
Actually runs the country.
Oh, I read this. Gives out Lib Dem leaflets.
I'm going to give you the answer. Dylan the dog causes a duck to defecate on MP. In the Downing Street Garden.
What did he do, hypnotise it? You all shit on the nearest MP.
Prime Minister Boris Johnson's dog Dylan recently scared a duck, which then defecated on the head of Conservative MP Henna Davison. Carrie apologised, saying, sorry about that, he's incorrigible, he'll probably be humping your leg in a minute, and the dog is almost as bad. So the final scores are Ian and James have 4. Paul and Jess are this week's winners with 9.
Well done.
Before we go, there is just time for the caption competition. Ian and James have this.
Man finds several holes in Northern Ireland Protocol.
At last, the advantages of Brexit.
Paul and Jess get that.
Dylan the dog in Downing Street reflects on a job half done. Man in Shropshire frightens people in Australia. Man who jumped out of plane without parachute wins coveted Dog Chair Cup newspaper award.
On which note, we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and James May, Paul Merton and Jess Phillips. And I leave you with news that after a worldwide shortage leads supermarkets to impose limits on shoppers, one man in North London is spotted leaving Waitrose with the last bottle of virgin olive oil. The world of children's entertainment was in mourning this week after the sad news that Bungle from Rainbow had been found unresponsive in his Surrey flat. And as the government renews its call for people to return to the office, Rishi Sunak leads by example with some excellent parallel parking on Downing Street. Good night.